by 20%. Even during COVID, you heard 30%. And I'll just try to sort of explain that to you a little bit. If you've got people who are not coming to auctions, I'll say that again, and you have got a lot of mortgage in possession sales, that's when you're going to see that. But when you've got, let's say there's a mortgage in possession sale in any suburb in Sydney right now, guess what? There will be at least 15, 20, 30 and upwards people bidding there. And 9 out of 10 times you're going to get a sale. And 9 out of 10 times you're going to get a sale either at market rate or maybe slightly above. So in this type of situation, why is that happening? Because the GDP is still growing. Unemployment is the lowest we have been for a very long time at 3.6%. Okay. So when these people say that, you need to question them because they haven't been right even once for the last 20 years. Okay. Last factor there, as we know, we've had recession because of the war. We have had because of post-COVID. All these factors have a direct or indirect impact on our property market. Okay. FX rates, when they go down, more foreign buyers come in. So all of these factors have some impact. I'll keep moving on. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, in the last few days and weeks, these are some of the things making news that are relevant to the property market. On the left there, these things are probably negatives. And on the right side, these things are positives. Okay. So on the left side, we all know interest rates are now at 4.35. We'll talk more about that in a minute. US Fed has paused, and now there's a lot of talk in the last week, 10 days, about why the US Fed is done, and the next move you're going to see is actually going to be down. Okay, and I'll talk more about that shortly. US inflation fell. Okay, it fell. It was 3.7. It's come down to 3.2. That's a massive fall from the peak of 9.1. Massive fall. So if I were the Fed governor, I would probably definitely stop and let the lower inflation sort of play out. Australia's inflation has just come out at 4.9, and everyone's sort of saying, well, yeah, that was last quarter, that was at 5.6. So the Reserve Bank governor very quickly decided to push the rate up by another 25 basis points. Sorry, still having some problems. Raj, can you confirm that you can see the screen? Okay. My slideshow is not working, so I'll just stay on my PowerPoint if that's okay with everybody. My apologies again. Okay, so let's just keep going. So the important thing is that whenever we see the RBA do these things, they're backward looking, they're never forward looking. And we saw petrol prices come down, but they did not actually look at the petrol prices coming down. And now the crude oil price actually, if you look at the crude oil price back in September, it was hitting around that 95. And now the US crude oil price is below 80, right? Okay, it's trending around that 77, 78. So it has come down quite significantly. And we're seeing that at the Bowser. You're seeing prices now dropping. Petrol prices are now, $1.85, $1.90 instead of $2.30. So they're never looking at current data. And that's one of my criticisms always of the RBA. The last one there, very, very, very important, is that recessionary fears in the US, UK, Europe, and the slowdown in China. That is going to be a massive thing that the RBA is going to be looking at going forward. Okay. That's the negatives. So on the positive side here is we've got a rental crisis. Unemployment is really, really on the low side. So no chance of property prices actually falling, particularly with the current demand and lack of supply. Migration is, we've well passed these numbers. I think our number for this year is going to be well past 500,000, to add everybody that comes in. And then our GDP is still slightly there. I would like to actually see two things. I'd like to see. I'd like to see the unemployment rate tick up to about 4 and go over 4. And I'd like the GDP for one quarter to be negative. Why? Because that will be the final straw for the RBA, and they will start dropping rates. Okay, people in the US, we'll talk about US in a second. So the next slide, recent headlines. So these are some of the big headlines in the last week. Okay, so that again, that impacts us, impacts the property market here. Inflation dips more than economists expect. I've just talked about that, 4.9 from 5.6. So we're trending the right way. New South Wales and Victoria to grow 1 million more people over a decade, as in adding to the housing challenge. Okay, we're going to get 772,000 more people coming to our city. US bond investors brace for Fed rate cuts. So now they're putting it as a, so we'll talk about the US bond and why that's important. 45% chance of a rate cut in the March meeting next year, rising to about 75% probability by the April meeting. So the bond market in the US is really expecting the Fed to cut rates from either March or May, okay, next year. Now we'll come back to that in a second. But the other thing, of course, is the other things you see in the headline every day is rental crisis, people sleeping in cars in some of these cities. People lining up for, you're going to keep seeing that. That's not going to improve. We can't improve that position overnight. A little bit of trivia for those that haven't seen these slides before. So in the last 35 years, we have seen one interest rate increase here, one increase here, one long sort of prolonged increase here, one increase here, before the one that we've just seen, okay, on the right. So we've had 4 interest rate increases cycles in the last 4 years, in the last 35 years. Okay, important thing your takeaway from the left graph is that the average here over the last 30 plus years is actually 5%, and I'm talking about the cash rate. So if the average for the cash rate has been 5% for the last 30 plus years, why are we making such a big fuss about interest rates when we are at 4.35? Okay, the reason why we're making such a big fuss is that it has been one of the steepest increases, and the reason why it has been steep is because this part shouldn't have happened. This part actually only happened because of COVID. So that short-term phenomenon of COVID, we're going to 0.1%. 0.1% only happened because of COVID. If it hadn't happened, then the increase wouldn't have been that sharp. Okay, we would have gone somewhere from 1.75 to 4. So that's just for as a takeaway for you. Where to from here? Well, I said last month, and I've told my listeners a month ago before the last interest rate increase that we are not going to see an increase. Okay, because I thought the Reserve Bank will finally wake up and actually see the real data for the month of October before they make the decision in November, but they didn't. They only looked at the September quarter numbers. Okay, they were backward looking. And when you look at the inflation figure now, it's come down. If the inflation figure was indeed 4.9 before that rate decision last month, then they wouldn't have put it up. Okay, but they did. And now they probably regret it. So listen, it's the final nail in the coffin. There's a lot of, I think we're going to see our economy struggle, small businesses struggle. People have already tightened their belts. They're all paying very high mortgages already. So all these factors are going to play out in the numbers that we are going to see in the coming 3 months. But because the RBA is backward looking, they're not going to touch interest rates probably until about May or June next year. They will start to see the economy struggle over the next 6 months, and then they will decide, okay, it's time for us to start dropping interest rates. People can't sustain this anymore. And what we have done so far has started to work. to do your bits, what you have to do is you have to fix the part to do with retail sales. Okay, this part here. The retail sales part really has to be fixed because retail sales is still pretty high. Hide your credit cards for the next 3 months if you really want to see interest rates started coming down. Okay, do only your essential shopping and keep the non-essential until later. We are not doing our bit. We're still buying lots of cars. There's record sales of cars. So all of these things, everybody has to tighten their belt before the RBA can see that, okay, inflation's correcting, retail sales is coming down, GDP is under threat, then, okay, now it is time for us to do something about it. But it's not all of those factors are lining up. Okay, and we're going to watch China very closely, our biggest trading partner. Now, why 10-year bonds? Why am I so excited about what happened to the US 10-year Treasury? Okay, it's it's Treasury notes, not bonds. On the left side, I've got the year-to-date number. So on the year-to-date number, we have seen rates, we've seen the 10-year Treasuries rise. But from most of November, as you can see, it has been coming down. Now, this will tell you a better picture on the right side where I've just got 3 months, okay? From November, you can see we were at around 4.9%, and we have gone all the way down to 4.26. That is massive. In a 10-year Treasury note, that is massive, okay? That is a little bit like taking the difference between the two, which is 0.6%, okay, and multiplying it at least by 2. So what the Treasury note area is actually saying is of the market is saying, and this is an indicator that the US market uses when they're saying what is the next move in interest rates. They look at the US 10-year Treasury. That's why this graph is very important. And we always look at the bank bill futures graph that we show in Australia. But I tell you what, if US are going to cut, we are going to cut. There is no two ways about it. Okay. If they cut 1% next year, we will cut 1%, maybe even more. Because the impact, because it means that they will cut because the economy is struggling big time, the largest economy in the world. So we will need to prepare for that in the local market. Hopefully that makes sense. But this is if you're not watching this graph, please watch it. It's US 10-year Treasury graph. And that fall is massive. What it's going to do, prediction number 1 today, what that's going to do is fixed rates, housing fixed rates in Australia are going to come down. When US Treasury, 10-year Treasury goes down this big in such a short time, okay, we probably haven't seen this for a long time, then you're going to see that the interest rate swap figure and the futures and the Australian bond rates are all going to drop, and that will cause the fixed rates, housing fixed rates to come down quickly in the next, what's that, in the next 2 months, okay? I expect a 25 to 40 basis point fall in the next 2 to 3 months. So just keep an eye on that in the news. Okay, change in dwelling values, you all know about this. So we all thought, not all, I didn't, but most of the banks and the economists and the so-called pundits have all predicted this year was going to be anywhere between 8 to 12% fall. And I haven't put the graph that I normally show that they predict the prediction in August and September last year. At the same time, I predicted a 8% rise in the property price in 2020, in this year. So if you look here, Sydney, the total return, you're looking at an annual growth of 10.2%, which is massive. Okay, Brisbane 10.7. The outlier here is Perth, which is outgunning everybody else at the moment, and that Perth story comes back to my very first slide where I said it's supply and demand. Their population growth percentage-wise is bigger than Sydney, okay? They cannot develop houses overnight. So they have got an absolute massive housing crisis in Perth, and that's what's driving this price, nothing else. Okay, so I won't dwell on that. The other one I want to very quickly touch on is the rental vacancy rate. Now, the rental vacancy rate is, if this is last 10 years, okay, forget about the red one, that's about the regionals. I don't care too much about regionals. Most important is where most of the population live. And you see the combined capitals, it's down to 1%, okay? Down to 1%. So when COVID happened, we were at 3.9 in Sydney, okay? We were up here. So now we are right down here. I predicted it to go to 1% about 2 years ago, before anything was heard in the news. And the reason is I could see that there was no supply coming. COVID, we stopped producing properties, and then the migration stopped. And then suddenly, because you stop producing properties, and the migration comes with a tsunami, what's going to happen? It's common sense, isn't it? So we could all see it, but the government somehow couldn't see that. So they didn't do anything, sat on their backsides, didn't do anything about it for the last 2 years. And now it's the highest item on the agenda. Anyway, won't dwell on that. Vacancies here, you can see a little bit more micro level. So Sydney is at 0.9. I fully expected all these numbers, except Adelaide and Perth are at the bottom end of that, 0.3, which means there is no houses to rent. There is no houses to rent in Perth and Adelaide. They have got chronic shortage. They are struggling big time. And like I said before, this is not something we're going to solve in the next 3 months, 6 months, 2 years. It is going to take at least 4 to 5 years to solve. Okay. And this is the reason why. Okay. The demand is not going to abate. Demand is going to continue. So what we have seen is this massive blue line here, which is forward estimate, but you know, we're almost at 500,000 for this year. And then it tapers off a little bit the year after, and then you've still got pretty high numbers predicted all the way to 2026. What will that do to the supply? Well, the supply is dwindling. And where is this interest coming from? Where is this demand coming from? Okay, globally, Chinese remain the biggest foreign buyers. You can see here, they're snapping up Australian properties like there's no tomorrow. Sydney and Melbourne are in the top 5 cities to live in globally, have been for a number of years now. So we're a sought after place for people to go. And growth will continue in property values. And we are by far, Sydney is by far the biggest, world leading in terms of the sales of waterfront properties and the growth in prices of waterfront properties. And that trend will continue as well. So the other factor that is causing demand is where the really, really, really wealthy people, the really high net worth millionaires and billionaires moving out of and moving into. I'm sure you've probably seen this before, and this won't come as much of a surprise to the others. People are moving out. The high net worth individuals are moving out of Russia, China, India. They're the top 3. Where are they moving to? Okay, Dubai is very, very high up there. UAE, Australia is 2nd. Okay, this is where they're coming. Singapore is 3rd. These are safe places for them. This is where they want to come. This is where they want to spend the money. So I won't dwell on that. Israel may have changed after the recent wars and so on, but the other factor that we talk about, but we don't look at the numbers enough, and that is the international students. And it may shock some of you in terms of how many people we are actually talking about. Okay, there are 608,000 students in Australia, and this is the distribution. So you've got New South Wales doing the heavy lifting, 237,000, Victoria 179, and then it sort of drops off from there. And where are they coming from? The biggest intake is still China, 131,000. India is 2nd at 98. Nepal, 53. The fourth one surprises me, Colombia. I did not realize that. But these people were not there. They had gone home. Okay, they've come back after COVID. We have to provide housing not just to the migrants, not just to the visitors, not just short-term visitors, which are not a migrant visa, but they're coming to work here on work visas, but also students. And that is all happening at the same time when the supply is actually going down. Okay. So another story here on the supply and demand. So we've got the red, which is the population change, shooting up here, absolutely shooting up. But the demand side is actually coming, sorry, the supply side is actually coming down. That's a double whammy, okay? So I've been talking about. And then it'll stabilize at some point, it'll stabilize, 2026, 2027, stabilize. But this has still got to come up. And that will take time. That'll take a lot of time. So if anybody is listening to me thinking, oh my God, we've got so many apartments coming up everywhere, well, think again, because they're going to get absorbed in no time. A few current property market facts, okay? So housing supply will significantly lack demand for next 5 years. These are not me saying it, but this is National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation saying, estimates a shortage of around 106,000 dwellings in the next 5 years. That is massive. Secondly, on the right side, there is a huge price gap between house prices and apartment prices, which is expected to close quickly in the next 24 months. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Rental crisis will worsen, with the rents potentially increasing another 15+% in the next 12 months. That is my prediction. But I think most of the media is also alluding to that. And the last one, they're also very important, is one of the reasons supply can't come up as fast is this increased cost of construction. People are re-evaluating the cost of building apartments, the cost of building houses, and how through putting house and land packages out there on the back of one of the highest years of home builder receiverships we have seen, which is also going to play on the supply side. Okay, we have in a number of states the shortage of skilled people to build homes. Companies are, looking for cash. I run a fund management company. I've been approached by a number of home builders to fund their projects. So all of these things are actually happening out there. And we need to be very cognizant of, when you're looking at property market, be cognizant of everything that is happening around you rather than one news item. Now, this is the gap I'm talking about between houses and units, last 30 years, okay? So this gap here mostly tracks together. I have a lot of people saying to me, listen, apartments don't go up in price, do they? I said, how long have you been in Australia? 3 years, 4 years? I said, yeah, well, last 3 or 4 years is not a good gauge of that. So normally they move in tandem. The point is, this gap only was caused because apartments were not in vogue in the last 2 to 3 years. Last 12 months, of course, it's very much in vogue for the same reasons, like I was saying before. People could, the interest rate went down to 1.99%. People who could afford apartments could suddenly afford a $1.3 million house in Schofields, or $900,000 house in Schofields back then. So all of these things started happening, and that caused units not to be in vogue. Units are back in vogue because people can't afford houses anymore. Interest rates have gone up and the affordability is lower. And there is a huge, they've got no choice either because there isn't enough house and land out there. You have to buy apartments. So all of these factors are going to push apartment prices to narrow that gap. I've been saying this for the last 12 months, perfect storm for apartments, and still is, okay? For those reasons, I'll let you quickly read that. So demand will continue and supply is still struggling. I'll quickly show you this. These are completed apartments. In 2022, 14,000 apartments were completed in Sydney. Not a big number, but still a good number. Completed, okay, not started, completed. It takes 3 to 4 years to do an apartment project. Now, if you want to complete an apartment project in 2024, you've got to start in 2022. Well, guess what? In 2020 and 2021, we stopped building apartments. We were in lockdown. We were in COVID. And apartments were not in vogue, so why would you develop it? Everybody put a hole. So that's why the numbers in 2024 is down 4,500. At the same time, when the demand is actually going up. If you don't look at any of the other factors I talked about and just focus on supply and demand, that alone will tell you that apartment prices have to push up significantly. In a normal sense, when we do research on a suburb, we say if the apartment price is, say, 650,000, then the house price should be about 1.1, 1.2. Okay, that's roughly in some of the suburbs that we're going to talk about shortly. But what's happened is the house prices in those suburbs have actually gone up to about 1.5, 1.6. That is the gap we've got. So there is no question in my mind that the apartments that are around under 700 are going to go to 800, 850, 900 in a very, very, very short space of time. Okay. This is a phenomenon that has been happening for the 42 years I have been here. Perfect storm for apartments. The other factors is rentals are heading up and up, so your returns are going to be better. And there's a chronic shortage of properties. I've mentioned that 10 times. Affordability issues I've talked about. And there's one other part here that we don't talk about much, is the downsizes. There's a new demand that I have sensed more so this year than I have ever before. And that is people who want to downsize. And I'm seeing that a lot in some of the other suburbs we sell here in Castle Hill, in Norwest, Bella Vista, where people are selling their houses and they want to downsize. And they're looking for a 2-bedroom with a good size, balcony. Some are looking for even 3 bedrooms, but they're downsizers. There are more downsizers there. Low unemployment is continuing. Infrastructure spend will continue, as you see in a minute. And the cost of construction is significantly up. So it used to cost pre-COVID, and I talked to so many apartment developers, pre-COVID, a 2-bedroom apartment used to cost about $250,000 to build. And that's if you were your own owner builder. Now, if you are building a 2-bedroom apartment in a complex, the cost is around $400,000. So if nothing else happened, a 2-bedroom apartment should have gone up from pre-COVID, from early 2020 to now, should have gone up by at least that much, okay? At least 150K. So keep that in mind as well. But land values have gone up as well. So there is no chance that you are going to see apartments at 700 and under for very long. Not in another year, you won't see any, okay? What else is happening in Sydney? We're getting transformed. You've all seen the tunnels being built. The airport is started. There's new hospital coming up everywhere. There's expansions of hospitals. There's an infrastructure spend that's going on, metro, schools, and so on and so forth. We are busting at the seams everywhere you look. So what we are preparing for and what we're going through is what we call once in a 50-year transformation. It's a paradigm shift in our city. We've got to cater. Why is all of this happening? Not by chance. It's been planned. We're going to have to cater for 6 million people in our city by 2036 and 8 million by 2054. I certainly won't be there to see the 8 million people, but it is going to happen. And for that, we need 40,000 dwellings roughly per year. That is a lot of dwellings, okay? That is a hell of a lot of dwellings. Infrastructure spend, there's so much is happening in the city. So we've got our unemployment is not 3.6, it's lower than 3.6 because of all of these things that are happening in our city. Next one. There is so much of this happening that, I just want to demonstrate to you that the New South Wales GDP, if you look at it, is bigger than countries like Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong. That's number one. Greater Western Sydney is actually the 3rd largest economy in Australia. Okay, just the Greater Western Sydney. So this whole Western Sydney region is going to have massive population growth. Northwest precinct alone will become bigger than Canberra in 8 years. Okay, that's the northwest part of the Greater Western Sydney. We've got a new airport coming up, which is creating huge opportunities for everybody. and the Western Sydney Aerotropolis is coming up, which is going to be one stop past Badgerys Creek, which is another massive development. It's going to be bigger than Parramatta when it's fully finished. And then you've got jobs being created locally and all of these things that you can. So this is the big story, okay? This big, massive growth that we're going to see. But let's come a bit more local. And the suburb I want to talk to you guys about today is Tallawong in Rouse Hill. I've highlighted something here that you should read. We have 9,000 in 2021, population of Rouse Hill, Tallawong, Rouse Hill, okay, Tallawong, Rouse Hill, it's around 9,300 people. This is expected to increase by 29,000 by 2031. 2031 is just around the corner. It's not far at all, okay? Now, this grass is astounding. Okay, I just got to look at 2031 here. Number of houses, number of people, massive. So this is absolutely massive growth. In fact, if you go try and pull out a graph like this from any other council in Australia, you would be looking for a very long time to find this type of population growth. So very important. Two things that are absolutely critical for price growth in property. Population growth, which is the demand, okay? And number two is infrastructure. I laughed actually when somebody mentioned to me a week ago and said, oh my God, there's so many apartments coming up in Rouse Hill, we're going to have an oversupply. The problem is that's optics, okay? People do not look at facts. And I laughed at that person because, and I corrected that person because they have no idea. The reason why so many apartments have been approved by the council is because they know how much population is coming into the area. And that's why this is happening, okay? The biggest hospital is being built, $700+ million in expenses at Rouse Hill, okay, next to the shopping center. The metro is going to go all the way to the Badgerys Creek Airport. And then it's going to go directly rather than having to change at Chatswood. So this metro is going to become more and more and more important as the population growth and infrastructure comes up in an area. The Rouse Hill Town Centre is getting a $300 million expansion. It's going to become 1.5 times bigger than what it is right now. And last but not least, one of the projects we have been selling very strongly in the last 12 to 18 months, so 12 to 18 months ago, more particularly, is the Tallawong Village project. I'll talk more about that shortly as well. Because you're going to get one whole level of retail there in 5 buildings, the whole footprint, and you're going to get medical centers, you're going to get like great tenants like Service New South Wales and, you know, fitness gyms and all kinds of stuff. Great restaurants, cafes, and the work. And that's only going to be 8 minutes walk from the project that I want to talk about, which is Herman Residences in Rouse Hill. Now, I'll talk through the next 2 slides. So this is what it's going to look like. This is where it is. Okay, this is the important part. Location is very important whenever you buy property. So the Hammond project is here, okay, if everybody can see that. And the metro is here, the blue metro. It's about 200 meters walk to the metro. So it's almost opposite the metro, okay? These two you are seeing here is the Daycorp project and the one that I just showed you, which has retail down the bottom. That project has done extremely well. And the new Rouse Hill Hospital is coming right over here. And this is the future part of the shopping center that is getting expanded. So everything's pretty much a stone throw away. Okay, the other Rouse Hill Metro is right here. Now, this is Kajigong Road and this is Tallawong Road. Both roads very, very highly sought after. This road fully developed almost. This road yet to be developed, yet to be zoned. So some of it is zoned, but the rest is not zoned. So enormous, a school is coming up here. Another shopping is coming up here. So there is there is significant amount of work that is going to happen here. Okay, and this location is amazing. Why did I pick this project to sell? Why am I excited about this project? Because we were selling at the future Talawong village here. Okay, the Talawong village, the Daycop project, we were selling at around the 650 to 700,000 about a year ago, a year and a bit ago. Now the prices have gone up, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, prices are now edging 800. And where are we with the pricing here? Still the old prices before they increase it in the new year. And that's the window of opportunity that we look for on your behalf to find you what we see is going to create value for you. Okay, these projects haven't settled over here, but they're sitting on, at least our buyers are all sitting. The first stage settles in May or June next year. All our buyers are sitting on at least 100. Some are sitting on 200,000 profits, the ones that bought a 3-bedder. So that's important to create value for you. I'll Krish, if you are there, you want to talk to the next few slides?
Yeah, by all means. Just give me one moment, guys. I'm just trying to log in remotely from here, so my screen's a bit all over the shop. Okay. Hey, guys, it's Chris here from Nivas Real Estate. I work closely with Sachin and Raj. Now, I'm actually on site here at the Herman Residences in Talawong. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just switch the screen across to give you a quick squeeze of the display, and I will be one moment. So as we come through, just to show you what the finishes are like, these are 40mm stone bench tops in the kitchen. You've got pendant lights here as well, large sinks. You've got oil V dishwasher, built-in integrated, oil V stove, oil V oven, range hood with ducted as well. You've got a microwave included. You've also got wooden floors. So what I'm trying to highlight, it's a very, very well-finished project, right? Now, you've also got ducted air conditioning here. And one thing which I really wanted to hone in on is this is just to show you that this builder does go above and beyond, right? So you've basically got Peeble here. You've got Bradford Gold Bats. You've got metal reinforcement here as well. So they are a very, very good builder. I have personally seen 3 of the buildings which they've completed in Auburn recently, which have been absolutely fantastic. This, guys, is your bathroom. So it's a contemporary / Hampton style bathroom, or I guess the look of it is. You've got built-in cupboards here too, which are handy. And again, guys, this is just a display. So just to show you what the finishes are going to be like, okay? Now, so as you can see, it's a well-finished apartment. Now, what I really want to show you guys is what's going on outside here. So what we've got going on here is your construction, okay? So as you can see out here, the construction has kicked off. The civil works are underway, so they're going to get the streets in, all the infrastructure in, and then the buildings will start coming up, I dare say, sometime in about February next year. So things are coming along very, very well, which is nice. You're going to have 1, 2, 3 buildings here, which are coming up in front. And now the most important thing, guys, just sort of over this overpass over here, or about a 8-minute walk, it takes you to Talawong, the Talawong Metro. Just bear with me for a sec. Okay, yeah, so this takes you to the Talawong Metro. Now, the Metro, as I mentioned, 8 minutes walk away, which is important, right? The Metro is very important because of 2 things. One, it's connectivity, right? So people who don't have a car, it makes it easier for them to get around Sydney. Number 2, stage 2 of this Metro is going to be completing next year. And what that's going to do is allow connectivity directly to the CBD. Now, that's a very important point because obviously a lot of people still work in the CBD, be it in a hybrid environment or full-time. So that's going to be very good for connectivity. The next thing is where the Talawong station is, directly across the road from that, you're actually going to have a full-blown shopping center, right? Now, what I mean by full-blown, you're going to have an IGA. You're going to have Service New South Wales as your tenant as well. You're going to have butchers, hairdressers, everything is going to be there. Anything that you possibly require is going to be there, bar, of course, specialty clothing shops and things like that. But if you need that, Rousefield's only one stop away, as in Rousfield Town Centre. So you've got 6 to 8 minutes walk to the metro. You've got a shopping centre 6 to 8 minutes away as well. You're going to have connectivity to the city, and a project which I will get into a minute is very, very well priced, significantly under the rest of the market. So sorry, Sachin, I'm just having a look at your slides now. So the image that you see on the slides in front of you is what these buildings are going to look like, right? So you're going to have these 4 buildings coming up. What we're selling at the moment is stage 1. You want to jump onto the next screen, Sachin? Thank you. So as you can see, guys, I've gone through the actual display, but these are a few CGIs of what the project's going to look like. You're going to have no swimming pool, no gym, no sauna, none of those things, which are going to add to your strata costs. You're just going to have nice breakout areas upstairs. We've got, barbecue and courtyard and stuff, as you can see in that top left image. And you're just going to have some nice sort of courtyard areas in and around the project, right? So it's not going to be not going to have too many amenities, but again, that does help with strata. And if you do want to go to the gym, there's going to be an Anytime Fitness coming up where I mentioned where the shopping center is as well. So like I said, it's pretty much everything you need is going to be a stone's throw away. All right. So next slide. Now, guys, these are just a few floor plans, right? Now, for example, you've got a 78 square meter internal, 22 external, right? 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1 car unit. Now, this is priced at $695, okay? Now, $695, but what we're also offering as well, right, is a $20,000 cash rebate, okay? This will not, and I can emphasize this again, this will not be around for a long time, these rebates, okay? We have got a limited number of units to sell, okay? And when we sell these units, well, basically we've got about 25 odd units to sell. Once we've sold these units, the starting price for a 2-bedroom will be $750, and this is going to be around February next year, okay? So we've got a very small window of opportunity to get in at these prices, all right? So the next slide. Now, basically, this is another 2-bedder, 86 internal, 14 external. So 86 is a monster of a 2-bedroom. You go and have a look around at other developments, 86 square meters, they're generally few and far between, right? They're normally between that 75 to 80 mark. So this is a very big unit. This one is priced at $725, right? After the rebate, it comes down to $705. Now, one point I really want to reiterate is that just across, so as Sachin mentioned, we were selling another project called Tallawong Village across the road and a few others as well. The prices there for your 2-bed, 2-bath, 1 cars are sort of starting from that $775 mark right now, all right? So $775, and that's for something which is like a 74 internal and a smaller apartment. So you've got literally 400 meters away, you've got units which are being priced.
Sorry to interrupt, Krish. I've got a floor plan from the Tallawong Village to illustrate the example.
Oh, perfect. Good. Oh, yeah, that's the one. Okay, great. So for example, this is a 77 and 10 square meter, right? After the rebate at Tallawong Village, your starting price is $785. So our units are $110,000 cheaper after our rebate. This is post-rebate for both projects than Tallawong Village. So you guys can see where the value lies, right? You're about $100K less than the next unit. You go to any of the other units here, they're all priced well above us, right? One of the key reasons for that is this project is off market. We do not have it on real estate, do not have it on domain. It's personally being sold through us and 2 other agents. We have got some heavy incentives at the moment, which are not going to be around for a while. And this is genuinely an opportunity to make equity from day one. I know there are people on this webinar who have joined us at other projects, be it Babylon, be it Tallawong Village as well, when we were selling there back at 640, 650, and they missed out because all those prices are now sitting at 770 to 780, right? This is like going back in time, right? To go back and get those prices yet again in a project where you can just secure it for 2 years, watch the capital growth grow. Once it's completed in 2 years' time, your rents are going to be up, your prices are going to be up, and it's just going to be you're going to be sitting on a decent profit. You're already sitting on a decent profit given all the competitors' units, right? So next one I just wanted to show you. So these are a few of the projects. So we specialize in choosing projects which are good value, okay? So Tallawong Village, when we were selling it, it was between 650 to 680. Once they hit that sort of 720 mark, 730, we kind of pulled back a bit. We said, nah, it's starting to hit that sort of market price, right? Now, there, everybody who bought with us bought sort of between that 650 to 680, 690 kind of mark. So everybody there's already sitting on equity. They're already sitting on a profit, okay? You've got Q in Schofield. We were selling 2 bedrooms from 510 to 540 there. They're now selling, or they were selling, I should say, from 620 to 660 because they've just sold the final stage. And the next stage of that is actually going to be starting at Q in the next 3 to 4 months. And from what I've been told, there's nothing going to be less than a 7 in front of it, okay? And again, that's due to the higher construction costs. Evoke in Blacktown, 480 to 520 we were selling. Now they're selling for 600 and the rents, they've gone through the roof. Everyone we've sold to are thanking us because of the strong yields as well. And Babylon Rouse Hill, another example. So guys, what we do is we get in early, right? We find the projects when the developers are just kicking off, where they are ready to negotiate, where the clients do get a good deal. And this is basically what we do. We find value, we find projects where you make equity from day one, right? This is the most important thing that we do here at Nivas. Now, what I will say is this, I am going to be booking in one-on-one appointments with people this week. I'm also going to be hosting an open home on Saturday as well. We are pushing this project through every single one of our channels. This is the first event we're doing, but from tomorrow onwards, this gets spread all across everywhere, right? So we want to basically sell 30 units within the next 4 weeks, right? And we will do that. So it's going to be a case of first in, best dressed. If you want to book an appointment, you book it with myself or Raj. My name's Chris. You would have got a text message from me yesterday if you registered for the event, and Raj would have given you a call this morning as well, right? So please reach out to either of us, right? We will book in an appointment with you. We'll walk you through the display. We'll show you everything that needs to be shown so you can make an informed decision. But guys, this is the definition of a no-brainer. I can't say it more enough. This is seriously one of the best value projects in the whole of the Hills District or Norwest, right? So the basically way to purchase a property, it's a $2,000 initial deposit. You fill out an expression of interest form. A contract would get sent to your solicitor on the next business day, generally. Then the solicitor's got 10 business days to basically go through that contract, right? Work out what needs to be done in your favor, of course. Then on the 10th business day, that's when the balance of 10% would be due. So 10% minus your initial $2,000 deposit. And then basically you pay 10% and then wait. You wait for 2 years until completion, and then you settle on the property. Okay, so that's how an off-the-plan works. Now, there is, in terms of your deposit, I do get asked that question quite a bit. Your deposit is, it can be flexible, right? What we have done is we've done 5% now, then we've done 5% in 4 months' time as well. We could possibly push that up to 5 or 6 months, post a bit of conversation with the developer. But there is some element of flexibility there too. But again, that'll be on a case-by-case basis. But look, if you've got the 10% and you're looking for a good investment in Sydney, it doesn't get better than this, in all honesty. So I'll leave it up to over to Sachin now. Bear with me for just one moment. And thank you all very much again.
Thanks, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, got ya.
Okay, just so in concluding, I normally use the same slide for concluding. Hopefully you found the session insightful today. My recommendation always to my listeners is please do not follow the media blindly if you want to make money in property. They will only put in the media what makes headlines. Do your due diligence and speak to experts, and always have a long-term view with property, okay? I always say to my listeners that if you want to be wealthy and retire well, you have to invest in property. The only way people actually make money in Australia is in property. Okay, we were per capita one of the wealthiest in the world, and that is mostly come through property. So if any of you want a one-on-one consultation and talk to me, more than happy to book that, more than happy to spend the time with you. I don't charge to spend time with you. I am happy to answer any of your questions now, but if you want to, talk to me in more detail, more than happy to do that. Okay, I will take questions then. Thank you.
Absolutely no such thing as a silly question, guys. So just go for your life. Anything you want.
Hey Chris, this is Sagar here.
Hey, Sagar.
Uh, do you guys have a 3 bedroom as well?
Raj.
Yes, we do have 3 bedrooms as well.
And what sort of price that
No,
one?
I
And
can't. Leave your phone on.
And pricing, yeah, definitely. So look, our 3 bedrooms, just bear with me for a second. The 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car.
Starting from
Starting from
855.
840.
845, sorry.
840 actually in Building C. So Building C, apartment 124. So that's the starting price is 840. So 103 square meters internal, right? 103 square meters internal, 12 square meters external. And the rebate for that, I've just got to confirm that with the developer, but start from 20K, and I'll come back to you on that one for sure. I believe it'll be 20K rebate for that too, but I'll come back to you. But the key thing here, Sagar, is that over the bridge at Talawong, your 3 bedrooms are starting from around that 9, if I'm not wrong, Sachin, 980 now, or around that price. So
Yeah,
again,
980
big
is the
gap in
cheapest
price.
3-bedroom.
yep.
And they go to
In
1
Talawong Village,
million,
yeah.
1 million and 50.
1 million 50.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So this
yeah,
project
to answer the
finished
question,
in within like 2 years.
in 2
So
years'
next,
time, this project finished, yeah. So we'd be you'd be looking at the end of 2025. Complete settlement, I would say, would be around Feb 26, I'd say.
thanks. Thank you, Chris.
No
So you're
worries.
buying
No
at,
worries. And
so
the good thing
the
is, guys,
important factor is that you're buying at below market price today for something that's completing in 2 years' time. So the chances of,
that's the thing.
it being well above the purchase price is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, the thing is, it's the supply and demand equation. Sorry to cut you off, Sachin. It's just the supply and demand equation speaks for itself, right? The data that we got is from the New South Wales Treasury, where we find the population growth, right? And council data and everything. So if that data stands true, which generally speaking it does, because that's the data that they use to figure out how many traffic lights are going to come up, how many schools are going to come up. So that's the data the government relies on, okay? So if they're saying that there's that much population coming in, and we've got a very limited supply of land here in Talawong, it's getting eaten up very, very quickly. I dare say by completion, you're going to be sitting on even more of a profit, as Sachin said.
Thank you so much. That's a good information.
No problem. Thanks, Sagar.
Chris, Kedar here. How are you?
Very well, Kedar. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Just a question: when are you having this open home? From next Saturday or?
Yeah, next Saturday from 11 o'clock to. Sorry, apologies. It'll be next Sunday. Sorry, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
At the site there.
At site. Yep, we'll be on site. So Raj and I will be here from Sunday at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah, and that'll be like an open home for us. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And just a question: with the 3-bedroom, the how many car spaces?
Yes.
Car spaces or with a cage or?
2 car spaces. Yeah. So with apartments, right? Generally speaking, now they don't have garages, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're going to be living in Vaucluse and or Mossman and all those areas.
That's
But they're going to be 2 car spaces. Basement car park. It'll be secure, so your entry will have a swipe to get in, swipe to get out, electric fences, electric gates, and everything. Full security cameras everywhere. It's going to have some solar paneling as well, which will keep things a bit green too. So yeah, look, it's all quite
And
good.
what about?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too early. Visitors parking. There's ample, or with these new.
Oh yeah. Plenty. There'll be. See, how you look at visitors is they're going to have a minimum requirement now for visitors parking. They're going to have a minimum requirement for charging stations as well. So the council basically dictates how many visitors car parks there will be based on how many units there are going to be built. So the long and short of it, there will be ample.
Yeah, and also the charging stations because of the new technology now on the cars. So the
Correct.
basement have more.
Everyone's going in here.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've
All
got
right.
a Tesla here as proof. They're coming everywhere.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Feel free to ask any questions, guys. And I've put mine and Raj's number in the chat as well. So just give us a call or send us a text and we'll meet you out here for an inspection. Or come to the open home next week. But I encourage you to come before that because, again, we're pushing all of our channels from tomorrow morning. All good, guys? I think there's no more questions.
Okay.
Thank you very
All right.
much. Yep.
Not a worry.
Thanks everyone
Look, thank
for
you all so much for
listening to
joining
us, and hopefully you found it valuable. Please reach out to Raj and Krish.
Yeah.
For more information.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. Have a lovely Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
See you.
Thanks again,
Cheers.
everyone. Signing
Thank you,
out.
guys. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.